Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ask Domnat podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about my first steps into entrepreneurship and Global Computers and Networks, which is my technology company. And that was the first time that I took a real legitimate attempt at entrepreneurship. And the story of Global Computers and Networks could honestly last several hours, but since I want to respect your time and I want to consolidate it into a 20 or 25 minute podcast, I want to break it up into three parts. First is how I got started at Global Computers and Networks, or GCN for short, moving forward. And next is the mistakes and pitfalls that I've made along the decade-long journey and the lessons that I've learned from it. Lastly, I want to end this podcast talking about what to expect in this new iteration of my technology company and all the exciting things that we have going on. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. So the year is 2010 and I'm in college studying computer engineering. And obviously, you learn a lot in school, but you really don't get your hands on a lot of equipment to work on. It's a lot of theory. You guys are looking at screens all day, but I wanted something a little bit more. So ultimately, I started studying outside of school. I learned how to build websites and do network technology and topology outside of what I was really doing in school. And I needed to figure out a way to pay for school since I was having a hard time getting loans as an immigrant. So I started doing websites for people. My websites were really nice and clean looking. I was charging $500 to do some basic websites. However, I started getting into a problem. People really liked my websites, and I didn't have a structure to offer support. They would just call or text me like, hey, can we update this? Or I'd like to add this. And I didn't know if I should charge them $500 again or $50. So I didn't have a real process when I started my first company doing websites called Optical Designs. However, I also started to learn that there was a whole technology stack underneath that website. It was servers and routers, switches, different layers of technology that was making those websites possible. And I started seeing how much those guys were getting paid. And I wanted to make more than $500. So I wanted to learn more about that so that I can get paid a little bit more. The big problem is, though, as I was learning that, I was again back online watching these courses and I didn't have the actual equipment. You needed the physical hardware to plug into to start programming and coding. Somebody linked me up with a guy who had a small network engineering firm or MSP, managed service provider firm. And they were running a company, but they needed some help. And they were looking for somebody who could maybe help them do some websites. So they introduced me to a guy named Harlen King. And Harlen owned this small tech company, about 5 technicians, called Global Computers and Networks. Harlan and I really synced right away. I was learning so much from him, and I started seeing everything that I was doing wrong at Optical Designs. Even though I had some amazing clients and products, I didn't really have an understanding on how to do business at that level. And Harlan had a small company, but he needed some of the services and the dedication of a young and eager, college student to come in and really help him grow the company as well. So I spent about a year every day just working with Harlan, learning from him. I was his apprentice at this point. I went to every appointment that he had. When I'm not in school, I'm at the office. When I'm not in the office, I'm at home learning. And I was so ingrained, I bought into the Global Computers and Networks story. I saw the vision. And ultimately, I needed to decide what I wanted to do moving forward with my career. It's been a year now, and I'm working full time at another company. I was working at this restaurant called Ribs R Us, and I was doing my technology stuff, trying to make some extra money there to pay for school. But now, what's next? So instead of taking all that I've learned and going to grab another technology job, getting paid a lot more than I was getting paid as an apprentice, I decided to tell Harlan, hey, I'm bought in. I know that we don't have the money at Global Computers and Networks to really pay me uh, high salary, but I want to invest somehow in Global Computers and Networks. I want to be part of this because I see the future. And we discussed how I can get invested. And he already had his company established, so it's not like I could just buy in because I didn't really have the money. But we agreed that why don't I make a profit split? Why we had a profit splitting system with new clients or new contracts that I was able to bring in. So my focus was now bringing in new money into the company. If I can bring in new clientele and new contracts, new grants, anything, then I would partake in that growth. And that started working well. I was so heavily invested into getting new grants, into finding new clients, marketing, everything that I could to even just get a small percentage of the pie. And it was working well. Harlan now had somebody that he could trust. I went from an apprentice to essentially the operations manager. I remember when we updated my business card to say operations manager because I was going to so many networking events toting this company. And about a year or so into it, a little over a year, um, my school needed me to do an internship. And my internship program was going to be with Microsoft or somebody else. But I didn't want to spend my time for a company that I wasn't bought into. I didn't have any stake in. They didn't really have any stake in me at all. It was going to be 6 month to a year endeavor, learn something, and then I just get out of their system, never to be seen again. Well, I had something that I was building on the other side. So I pleaded with my school and I demanded that, hey, I have ownership in this. I have some stake in this. Why would I want to go out, work for these companies that you guys all have relationships for free, when I can at least try to build something for myself over here? So I presented that to Harlan. I told him, hey, look, I'm staking my career, my educational career on the line for Global Computers and Networks. If I rather be at Global Computers than finish this course curriculum that they're trying to push me towards. So he saw the dedication and he was like, okay, Dom, take off the brakes. It's you. You have an opportunity to really prove yourself here. But yeah, we were rocking and rolling. And it was going so well that for the first time in about 5 years, Harlan was able to step away for he took, I would call it sabbatical, but he and his wife went on a missionary trip sabbatical for a month. He left me in charge, and I was now in the office managing the technicians, managing customer relations, bringing in new clients, invoicing, everything. So when he came back, he had an epiphany. He said, Dom, I realized that I want to spend more time in the things that matter to me, which were his spirituality, his wife and family, everything that we all really appreciate, and not being in this office for 12 hours a day and getting underpaid and fighting with clients. So now that the company's growing a little bit and I'm all bought in, I get hit with, I'm selling the company, Dom. What? So he's now decided he wants to sell the company. Something that I've wanted to invest in, and I'm trying to just even make it to 5%, make it to 10% of buying a company, and trying to figure out how to bring in new money so that my equity stake would be worth that much. But that is all derailed when he says he's trying to sell the company, and there are a few interested buyers with cash. So what do I do? We talk. And I say, hey, look, you could do that, but why don't you give me an opportunity to buy the company? I've been here. I know how to work it. I know how the operations work. I don't have money, but if you allow me to owner finance, I will buy this company at your set price. And that's what we did. We worked out a deal where I would continue the operations. It was a very sweet deal for Harlan at the end of the day. It was a good deal for me because I was able to really now acquire Global Computers and Networks. I still had optical designs, but that was all merged now. So optical designs and Global Computers and Networks were one. I was doing the website development and app development in house, and we were doing all the networking and managing of clients' networks in house. So we bought Global Computers and Networks. When I say we, it was just me. We decided that I would pay Harlem back in 3 years or so. The price was a little cash of 100 something thousand dollars back then, which now seems interesting. I'm not going to tell you if I think it's high or low, but 100 something thousand. But we had other incentives that made it very sweet for Harlan, which was um, we had a lot of American Express points. Like, I mean, a lot of American Express points that he was able to take and utilize. Traveled the world a couple times over, honestly, on it. So good for him on that. We also retained Harlan, so he went on the payroll from then on. We retained him to help us manage and transition the company, and he stayed on there for about a year while we were getting clients, and I was now the principal person responsible. For him, it made sense because he didn't want this young kid essentially bankrupting the company in the first couple months or first year and then not be able to pay him the rest of his equity. So it was a lot of things that were put in place that made the deal a little bit sweeter for him, where he didn't have to worry about necessarily the issues of running the company, but he can still be part of it, still get paid to some degree. And now it's kind of just on my shoulders. So now I own this company and I own Global Computers and Networks, at least on paper. And that's when I think the hardest things started to occur. Clients were now coming to me. They were used to going to Harlan for 5 years. That's the face that they knew. They used to go to other technicians. And now the technicians saw, hey, they've been here for longer time. Dom's just been here for the last 2 years. There's some people that have been here for 3, 4 years. And now Dom bought the company? What? And now he's our boss. I mean, I was already the operations manager, but I was the youngest guy at the company. And it just, who really cared? But now, yeah, now he's the owner. Now he's signing the checks. So, phase two. Here are where the mistakes and pitfalls come in. First mistake is we started growing Global Computers. I was really focused on getting new clients. I was really honed in on getting government contracts, which we started doing. But we started growing without a plan. That's one of the most treacherous things you can do in a business, is because now you're going to go for anything that really shimmers and is shiny. If a client wanted this, okay, we want for that. If they needed networking or application development or cabling or AV, all these products and services, cybersecurity, we were stretched thin just trying to grow. We were doing government contracts on logistics. We were helping build bridges. It was crazy. And that growth ultimately led to us not having an identity of what our core products were. And it became difficult because we had to price every product separately and differently. That we didn't have a set, here's what we sell, here's how much it costs. It's no, we sell engineering solutions. Let's sit down, let's discuss, and let's figure out something that works for you. And the problem with that is it's hard to scale because I had to sit down and reevaluate constantly. And problems come up. And now, well, we didn't anticipate that problem, but we already set a price. So do we go back and change it? I wasn't business savvy enough to understand how much companies are willing to pay back then. Now I know, yeah, Dom, don't take that loss. That it's their It's their project. You're helping complete the project, but don't take the loss on it. And now I'm starting to see where those big pitfalls, where it's growing without a plan, and you start to get spread too thin. Now, here's the second problem that I came across in owning global computers and network. Now, working in the business instead of on the business. I started finding myself doing the troubleshooting, fixing printers, connecting internets and computers for our clients. I was traveling every day. I was a 24/7 tech support. I was sleeping with my laptop open just in case one of our 24/7 clients pinged us on the chat or called because they needed support. Well, we were offering 24/7 tech support, so I was just ready on the go. I was working in the business instead of working on the business. One of the biggest mistakes that I've made and probably still continue to make in some degree. I needed to figure out a way earlier to sit back, analyze what our growth strategy was, and how to get the right people in place to help with that growth. One of the most successful technology companies that I came across in this period was this guy who ended up buying an IT franchise. Did the same thing similar to us. He was actually surprised at how we were growing the company, and he wanted to learn from us. But one thing he didn't know or do, he didn't know anything about technology. He didn't know networking and anything. He just knew he wanted a company. And at first, I was so surprised because he would hire us, i.e., me. I would go out and help him troubleshoot some of his clients. And he would be standing right there, paying me on per hour without knowing that he could do it himself. And he just knew that it wasn't his strength. He didn't know how to do the tech work. He owned the technology company, but he didn't know how to do the tech work. Surprisingly enough, he became a lot more successful sooner than we did. And that's because he probably focused on how to grow the company and not do the day-to-day minutia that I was stuck in. So I don't think I'll ever make that mistake again moving forward after this podcast, and being too ingrained in my business. Another mistake I made: lack of organizational skills. Organization is not my strong suit. You ask anybody that works with me, I'm a visionary, I'm a dreamer, I'm a thinker, but I will throw out thoughts and I'm scatterbrained. And when you're running an organization, you need to be organized. We had invoices outstanding to the tune of $70,000. We had lawsuits out for people who didn't pay us $55,000. We had, I mean, so many things. We had international clients. We had government contracts. I had employees that were stealing from me, and I didn't really pick up on it until we had an accounting audit. Once I started getting people into places to help me organize, I started seeing how much money I was just bleeding by not being organized. I've probably lost over $200,000 in not being organized because I was just chasing new money and not really setting up what I had and making sure that that was stable already. So my lack of organizational skills cost me a lot of headache, a lot of time, and a lot of money. The best way to solve that problem is by getting people in place that can balance out what your weaknesses are. That's when I started realizing how big of a problem it was when I hired an office manager that was phenomenal. She came in, I mean, she was in our bookkeeper and accountant. She was on top of these clients. She wanted to make sure that we invoiced correctly. She was on top of the technicians and what work they did, what billing we worked on. It was amazing. I was like, wow, somebody opened a light. Somebody just really opened my mind to what it's supposed to be after I was doing it now for about 2 years the wrong way. So that was phenomenal for me. However, she had to move. We lost that talent. And I needed to figure something else out. The last mistake that I made, it really compounds with what Rochelle did for us, which was organize our business, was not hiring the best talent that I could. I was always trying to hire the best talent, and it's happened about two or three employees of mine. When you hire a rock star player and you see what they can do, you're flabbergasted that you didn't have this sooner. And for me, it really came down to who can I hire to help me get to the next level? And how do I put this money aside, invest it? You only need 2 or 3 months' salary ready for a new employee. Because in 2 or 3 months, you should have something in the pipeline to keep new money coming in or make sure that that employee is helping you make money. An employee should not cost you money, they should make you money. So my fear of when I thought, oh, I got to hire somebody who's $50,000 a year, I was almost thinking I need to now make $50,000 a year extra. Like, no. All right, $50,000 a year. What is that? $4,000 a month. I just need enough for 3 months' salary, and that person needs to know that they need to bring in starting 2 months, 3 months. They need to start bringing in that much money back into the company at least. And we've been transparent with that now, but that was a mistake that I had to learn early on because what I was doing was going for the cheap talent. I was going for, okay, well, this guy is good enough. And he was not good enough. I had some awful people help me out. And now looking back at it, it's easy to say because we're doing so much better, but I should have spent the money on hiring the best talent that I could so that people would not drag my business down. And that to me were the biggest mistakes that I've made. Growing without a plan, working in the business instead of on the business, lack of organizational skills, and not hiring the best talent that I could. If I had done those four things early on, we would have probably been a step further in our progression than we are now. But it's okay because it is a journey and a marathon, not a sprint. So, with that, now that I've learned those lessons, now I've owned Global Computers for over 10 years. We've done millions of dollars in contracts and clients. We've had some clients for over 10 years. We've some of those clients from early on, from when Harlen had the company. I still have some of my optical design clients. That's just a testament to the type of service that I like to provide. People stay. But now what? What are we doing? Okay. Well, we're fixing those issues. And the first thing that I want to change with Global Computers is instead of focusing on engineering solutions and IT support, we are not in the IT support business anymore. We don't take on new IT support clients. We are in the application development space specifically. We like to work on projects that we can plan out, get everything together, versus saying, hey, we're your IT support. Call us when you have a problem. That is a hard way to plan and grow your business. You don't know when problems are going to come. It's sometimes you're just sitting there waiting. Other times your phone's ringing off the hook. So doing application development, we are now able to plan out projects. We're able to hire according to the projects. We're able to set budgets and expectations. We are an application development firm first now. And it allows us to create standardized pricing. Here are what these applications cost. Here are what these assets cost. Not any, okay, if they worked on your site for 4 hours, then it's $500. Or if you want an application of this magnitude, here's what we're going to charge you. The next thing is we're working on, instead of me being the salesperson and the guru for everything, bringing on a sales team. We, we have to have outbound sales. We need to make sure that people know what our service is and what our product offerings are. Having an outbound sales team is going to allow us to put our name and our product in front of more people, in front of more businesses and more buyers. It is an investment because ultimately the salespeople have to make sales, and we need to now bring in that revenue to justify paying them. Before they can even do that, we need to have a product that they can sell. We need to have a message and branding. And that's what this is all about. All these podcasts are, I'm a walking billboard of Global Computers and Networks. I have a marketing team at Global Computers that does a great job at putting all this together. So there's the capital investment to making sure that the company is sellable, that our products are sellable. People want these products. People need these products. So we're working on that. Lastly, what we're working on is a couple internal applications. One thing that I realized early on is, as a technology and consulting company, you don't have much. We had our office and a couple desks and whatever, but ultimately now all of our employees work remotely. So what do we have? A couple laptops, but really just our knowledge. We have a book of clients, but that can come and go. There are no tangible assets that we really have. So we're working on creating some internal applications that we can patent, that we can license, something tangible that people can use. We don't want to be a company that necessarily is a fly by night company. We've been at this as a company for 15 years. And it's time for us to have a product that somebody doesn't necessarily need to call in to our office to scope out to buy. It's something that we can offer online, SaaS product. We have something in the pipeline, so hopefully this year we're going to be seeing our new SaaS products to allow businesses to really utilize some of the experience, expertise, and leverage our engineering for themselves. So that's what we're working on at Global Computers. It's a growth factor. There's a lot that I didn't cover in these 25 minutes, but ultimately that's just the start of the story. Hopefully you guys follow and subscribe for more if you want to listen to my other entrepreneurial journeys. If you want to learn more about Global Computers, how we made $24 million in contracts. If you want to learn more about some of the apps that we're building and the projects that we are underway on right now, please stay tuned. Let me know, comment below, and we'll see you on the next podcast.